Hello everyone, I'm Rabbi Chaitovsky here at my office at BMH-BJ, and welcome to another video Dvar. This Shabbat we read the Torah portion of Chaya Sarah, which means the life of Sarah, and everyone points out the irony of the Torah portion. It really does not deal with her life, but it deals with her death and burial, and it deals with the aftermath of that and Abraham's next mission in his life, and we'll get to that in just a moment. People notice the unusual way in which Sarah's life is described, how her years are broken up into different components. It says that Sarah lived 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years, and there are different midrashim, different versions of the various midrashim that try to compartmentalize and focus on the attributes of Sarah at each of those stages in her life. But then it concludes, Shnei Chayei Sarah, these are the years of the life of Sarah. And Rashi, in a very bold statement, says, all of her years, Kulan Shavin L'Tova, all of Sarah's years were good, were equally good. And that brings an immediate question to mind. In what way could anyone possibly say that all of Sarah's years were equally good? She had to leave home with her husband to go to a land they didn't know. When they get to the land, there's a famine. When they finally have a child that they were promised, Abraham is told to take the child and offer the child as a sacrifice. Before that happened, Sarah had to witness another child being born to Abraham through another woman. And that led to all sorts of complications. And Sarah is accosted at least twice by one of the kings of Egypt and is sequestered in his harem. And yet Rashi insists that Kulan Shavin L'Tova, all of Sarah's years were equally good. And the only way to understand that really is to say that it was Sarah's perspective that all of her years were good. Sarah was our people's eternal optimist. She was able to survey her life, and she came to the conclusion, with all of the ups and downs, that things were basically good, and she could look back on her life and say, I've had a good life, and my years were all good. It's an amazing courage, an amazing strength that allowed Sarah to do that, and it's a lesson for all of us. And actually, Abraham exhibits a similar trait, because in the beginning of the next chapter, after the burial is done and the mourning is over, it says, V'Avraham zakein ba bayamim, Abraham was old and he was getting on in years. V'Hashem beirach et Avraham bakol. And God had blessed Abraham with everything. And the rabbis immediately notice, what do you mean God blessed Abraham with everything? He just buried his wife. He also had to leave home after many years of being there. At age 75, he left home. He went through the same trials and tribulations as his wife, and other trials and tribulations. The near sacrifice of his son, the removal of Ishmael from the house with Hagar. These were not things that Abraham really wanted to do, and he always thought about them. And even though he listened to what God had told him, these were all tests. And it's just amazing that the Torah says God blessed Abraham with everything. And I imagine that it was Abraham who was able to look back with his faith in God and with his own inner strength, and like Sarah, survey his own life and say, you know, all in all, things have been really great. Things have been good. There was one thing that Abraham still wanted, and he needed to find a shidduch. He needed to find a wife for his son Isaac. And the rest of the Torah portion deals with that. The slight irony is that as Abraham sends Eliezer to look for a son for Isaac, Isaac sees his old father alone and realizes, I wish Dad had a new partner. And it says that Isaac went out to the field And the rabbis say that what he was doing in the field was trying to find a new wife for his father. A very touching scene, especially since the woman that he ultimately finds for his father, according to the Midrash, is none other than Hagar, who the Torah calls Keturah. They give her a new name. But the Midrash says Keturah was Hagar, and it was Isaac, the rival to Yishmael, who the Midrash says brings Hagar back to his father so that they could remarry and continue a life, so that Abraham could finish out his days. And he had a very productive last years of his life. He had more children. Whether he had time to enjoy them or not, we really don't know, but he certainly had more children. So Abraham's inner strength, his optimism, Sarah's inner strength and her optimism, I hope are a role model for all of us to survey all that we have. And we should be blessed to be able to say, it's all good. God has blessed me with everything I need, and maybe even everything that I want. But if not, at least everything I need. Kulan shavin l'tova. It's all good. Shabbat shalom.